this rather chilly day in late December, I have descended from my mountain fortress to the much more temperate Beacon Food Forest in Seattle. And I have one goal today, which is to find wild edible plants that I can put in my delicious soup this evening. Spoiler alert, I did indeed find them, so stay tuned to discover 4 winter wild edibles and see the soup I made with them at the end of the video. All right, we are rejoicing because I have found the first plant, which is chickweed. Chickweed loves the Pacific Northwest in the wintertime. It loves wet and cold weather, but not too cold. So we're talking like 40 degrees, which Seattle is perfect for. And to harvest it, we're literally just going to take these top parts off. You can pluck them off with your hands, but you can also bring a pair of scissors, which I forgot at home today, so I'm just using my fingernails. And you want the tops of the stems because the lower half of the plant is going to be more fibrous. Also, we are looking for chickweed in these like rich soil, soft soil areas. So look in gardens, but also look in grassy areas as well. There are 2 identifying characteristics for chickweed. One of them is that it has this little tendon that is like rubbery when you pull on it. And this is the center of the stem. So you have to pull the stem apart to break it and find the tendon inside. The second important characteristic is that chickweed has a mohawk. Check out this single line of hairs along the stem. It is not covered in hair, it is just a single line of hairs, and the leaves actually don't have any hair at all. Now I'm going to keep harvesting until I have about 2 cups, maybe a little bit more, so I can work on other projects like make a salad for another night. And notice that I'm harvesting into a plastic bag, which is really good for tender greens like this so they don't wilt. Next, I found a great patch of bittercress in this empty bed. Bittercress loves open soil like this, so you probably have some growing in your garden. This probably even looks familiar. It's related to arugula. It's in the brassica family, and it actually is spicy, just like arugula as well. Now, bittercress is actually pretty easy to harvest because it has a taproot, which is like a single united root that goes down into the soil. So basically, I'm going to take my knife and I'm going to cut the root off of the bottom of the plant. And bam, I have the whole plant. I don't even need to dig it up or anything. You're going to want to remove that soil at the bottom of the plant and just remove any of the like dead leaves from the bottom. And remember that the center part that you're seeing here of this plant is pretty fibrous, so you're going to want to remove it when you get it home. But it's easier to harvest these whole rosettes like this and put them in your foraging bag. The reason we're not harvesting this in the spring and summer is that it sends out this flower shoot that's really fibrous. Let's take a quick look at this leaf. Notice that there's a leaflet on the end and then pairs of leaves. This leaf is shaped a lot like arugula or watercress. Now don't forget to play with your food a little bit, but let's try some of this out and see how it tastes. Yeah, okay. Ooh, that might be a little spicy there. I think that's gonna be really good in the soup though. I do recommend washing it first, unlike this menace, but it can be eaten raw or cooked. The next thing I found is something that could actually kill you if you mistook it for another plant. We'll talk about that in a second. This is wild carrot, and this is actually the same species as regular carrots, just not messed with by humans. Now, I want you to look really closely at these stems. They have hairs on them. You can see the tiny little hairs on the sides and the tiny little hairs on the back. That is one of the most important characteristics in identifying wild carrots specifically, and not poison hemlock, which I'll show after this section. Now, wild carrot leaves are also a little more narrow, and they have this beautiful rosette shape in the wintertime that's pretty easy to ID. And in fact, because it is the same species as carrot, it actually looks a lot like carrot, just a little bit more hairy. All right, we're gonna dig this thing up. I'm taking my hori and loosening the soil around it. Try not to cut the root when you're doing this. You could also use a digging fork. Whoops, looks like I did cut the root, so we're gonna have to go back in and get the rest of it. There it is. And something you may be noticing right now is that this is a white root. It is not orange. Orange is something that happened later on in the carrot breeding whole story. But yeah, check it out. Kind of looks like a parsnip and it smells pretty aromatic. You're gonna wanna take the rootlets off of the outside and of course clean it either with a hose or in the sink when you get home. And it also does have some vertical lines just like carrots. Yay. All right, as promised, here is poison hemlock, which I also found in the garden. Not good. I emailed them later to remove it. Notice that the leaves look more like parsley in this case. They're much less lacy and they're much whiter. But most importantly, let's take a look at the stem. The stem is entirely hairless. Not one hair on that stem, and that is the main difference between poison hemlock and wild carrot. Poison hemlock will kill you if you eat only a little bit, so please do more research on this plant so you can avoid harvesting it. Our next plant is the illustrious sow thistle. Check it out. I found one under this tree that's being nice and sheltered, so it's got beautiful leaves. And this particular one is Sonchus oleraceus. There's a couple different species and they hybridize, so they can actually be specifically hard to identify by species. But you can see these big kind of arrowhead shaped leaf ends, and notice the clasping around the stem as well. That's a super important identifying characteristic. You will also notice the sawtoothed leaf edges and the red stem. So I'm going to harvest all of the more tender leaves on this plant, but you can also harvest the more fibrous leaves and just boil them. I am going to pre-boil these before I put them in my soup, but I'm very excited because this is a more mild tasting green, more like kale, and I really like it actually boiled and then eaten as a cooked green. Keep in mind that sow thistle has several lookalikes, so it can be kind of difficult to ID. It can resemble thistle, it can resemble prickly lettuce, it can resemble chicory and dandelion. There's going to be some pretty good stuff in my book called Edible Plants of the Pacific Northwest, which is coming out in summer of 2025, so definitely check that out. You'll also notice that there is milky sap coming out of the stems and leaves where you break it, so that is one way to identify it, and then it also has these little yellow flowers that you'll notice, even in the wintertime. That's kind of cool. And now for the moment that you've all been waiting for, I want to share the soup that I created with these items. This has pork sausage in it. It also has chickpeas, it has the sow thistle, it has the chickweed, it has the bitter cress, and it has chopped wild carrot in it. I also put some onion, some celery, and some chicken broth in here, and I also happen to have made some rosemary garlic salt from rosemary I harvested at the food forest, so this ended up being a delicious soup. My husband loved it, we had it with some toast, and it was a lot of wild free food, which I'm always into. So on your next winter walk, see if you can spot any of these plants, and remember that before you harvest or put anything in your mouth, please make sure it's not going to kill you. So use your resources, use your apps, use your teachers, use the internet, use your friends, and make sure you have 100% positive ID before eating any of these plants. If you want to see more content about herbal medicine and foraging and plants, subscribe to my channel. My name is Natalie. Thanks for watching.